What's up, family? It's your main man, Dr. Life, in the business of saving lives. Dr. Life, in the business of saving lives. I've been waiting all my life for this show, for this moment right now. All my life I've been prepared for this. So Philadelphia. So Philadelphia. There's a movement, a So Brooklyn movement, a So Brooklyn challenge. It's a So Brooklyn challenge. And behind the So Brooklyn challenge is it's a spirit. Behind every challenge is a competition, mano a mano. And there's a specific spirit attached to the So Brooklyn challenge. And with every team competition, you got a spirit. And every spirit of a team, you got a mascot. In every competition, you got a team, you got a spirit, and then you have a mascot that represents that spirit. Well, Biggie Smalls said, spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. We spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. We spread, this is one of the most famous lines ever. We spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. Not any type of love. One love. There's only one love. The spirit of the So Brooklyn challenge is the one love spirit. We spread one love. It's the Brooklyn way. Nas talked about it in the song One Love. The streets where we come from, the teams that we play on, has a particular spirit. But no place on earth defines this spirit more than Philadelphia. The So Brooklyn challenge is the call, and the response is So Philadelphia. The response, the city that defines brotherly one love. I am my brothers and sisters' gatekeeper. It's Philadelphia. So Brooklyn puts out the challenge for the spirit. We spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. That's the call. And the response is So Philadelphia. And this call and response to spread love is about preparing our people to profit. Preparing our people to profit, to forecast and foreshadow. When the system is rigged against you, when everything has been designed for your failure. The challenge is, you gonna spread one love, you gonna respond with, I am my brother's gatekeeper. All my life, I've been prepared for this very day. In 2008 and 2009, they took us through a great recession. They was just testing the waters, yo. 2008, 2009, they took us through a great recession. They tested the waters to see, will these families fold? Will these families devolve into chaos? Will these families devolve into kill or be killed? You know, they already defined us as only the strong survive. They already programming humanity to be on some kill or be killed. So at some point in time when they feel and they believe, when they make the resources the scarcest, we're going to take care of their American dream for us, which is to eliminate the competition for them. When it's all on the line, will you be about your brother's gatekeeper? But see, our people don't have to be in that position. Our people don't have to be in that position. And the So Brooklyn challenge and the So Philadelphia response, first response is, we prepare our people. We prepare our team to spread love no matter what. And the track record of history says the wise men of old, they don't belong to any other family group. The wise men of old, who have always foreshadowed and led the people up against whatever nation that tried to come against our ancestors. The wise men of old have always prepared the people, just like for the past 3 years. If y'all have watched any of my videos, I ain't even been talking to the family. This really is my very first time talking exclusively to the family. Leading up to now, I've been putting the opposition on notice. See, the wise men of old always had to put in check the counterfeit, false systems in place. Whether they be financial systems, whether they be fake, false thrones, powers, principalities, kingdoms, rulers, who have their own ulterior motives and plans for what they want to do with our family group, for what they want to do to our family group, for how they want to rule and exploit our family group. And our ancestors, the wise men of old, have always stepped up to the plate and be like, listen, I don't care what your plan is. I don't care what you've been telling these people. I don't care what God you serving. I don't care what laws you tried to put in place. I don't care what kingdom you think you have built. As for me and my house, as for me and my people, this is what we gonna do. The King of Kings has said, we about to go out here. The King of Kings has said, let my people go so that they could worship him. So this family group that I represent, we about to go meet the King. And this is the last and final time on Earth's history where these declarations had to be made and stated to the present day pharaohs. So now I'm coming and we've already put Pharaoh on notice. Since 2016, I've been coming to a platform. Trust me, I had access to the platform before 2016. In 2008 and 2009, when the recession scarred half of the individuals. That had been given to us to prepare them to weather the storm. The Most High showed us then, like, listen, man, you gotta take it to a whole nother level, bruh. The scope ain't big enough. The sanctuary ain't wide enough. The four winds of strife have not been pinned down. So take this as a warning sign to expand the borders and expand the territory, to include more of my people. 2008, 2009, we ain't say a word. We ain't come here and say nothing. But when Pharaoh showed up, 2016, when Pharaoh put his governor in the land, 2016, on my deathbed, August 19th, on my deathbed, in ICU for 3 weeks, Most High was like, all right, this your burning bush experience. It's time to earn these stripes. Time to go tell Pharaoh, you're going to let my people go. So after you put Pharaoh on notice, then the next step, he send you to his people and tell his people, all right, prepare, yo. Prepare. We getting up out of here. We getting up out of here. Prepare yourself. Everything that happened up until this point right here, right now, don't even matter. How far you have been from the king, it don't even matter. Whatever else was going on, don't even matter. Listen, the king has come down. He has heard the cries of his people and he has come down. Prepare yourself. So that's where we are today, yo. This is what Soul Brooklyn, the spirit, look like. Spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. It's the spirit. It's the spirit. It's the spirit behind the movement. Alright? I just want y'all to know. You got a team, you got a spirit, and you gotta have a mascot. You gotta have a model, a supermodel. So when we was coming up, when we was coming up in the 80s, in the 90s, and they were setting the stage for how they was going for this last and final push. See, I know what's going on, right? Okay. So all around the world, they have this thing called a caste system. And at the bottom of the caste system are what they call the untouchables. If you look at India, there's a caste system. You have the ruling class, the Hindu priesthood, the ruling class, the upper crust, the Hindu priesthood. Underneath that, you have the military authorities. It's the next in the caste to enforce the laws put in place by the upper crust Hindu priesthood. So then you got the priesthood, then you got the authorities that's going to enforce it. Then you got the business class, the wealthy merchants. And then underneath the wealthy merchants, you have the common people, the laborers. And then outside of everything, you got the untouchables. See, that belief system states the untouchables in this reincarnation thing have done something in another life that's deserving of hatred, abuse. They're subhuman. They're outside of, they're undeserving of anything. Do whatever you want to them. Untouchables. They deserve whatever you give to them. The funny thing about this system, and all this system is, it's the Charles Darwin theory of evolution. From the Germans in Europe, as they invaded all across, they just put a different brand and a stamp on the same caste system that the Roman Catholicism put in place in their so-called age of enlightenment, age of reason, where they said we're going to switch from a spiritual caste system to a scientific reason caste system. So then when Europe came out with the fake, phony age of enlightened dark ages, they outsourced their same spiritual caste system, though, all across the globe. The priests ruled, the Catholic priests ruled Europe. After the Catholic priests, you had the knights and the army that enforced the laws that the Catholic priests put in place. And then after the knights and the army, you had the nobles. The same businessmen of the Hindu joint, it's the identical breakdown. The priest, the knights, the military enforce what the popes and all of them. Then you got the nobles. Y'all saw Braveheart. Y'all saw Braveheart. The capital of the outsourcing has always been Britain. And Great Britain was trying to force those. William Wallace in Braveheart were fighting against the caste system. Fighting against England, saying, y'all are untouchables. We'll do whatever we want to y'all. They've been running this system since. So in the 80s, in the 90s, we had a movement all up and down the East Coast. You got to understand, the wise men were the greatest of the kings of the kings of the East. The wise men have always been the greatest of the kings and the kings of the East. The king said there's nothing new under the sun. The individuals who stood up, our ancestors who have always stood up against the kingdoms, who wanted to rebel and defy the supernatural order of the Creator and come up with their own theories of evolution and all of that. Okay, you could come out with a theory. And if God's children acknowledge some other trash, and you always had our ancestors who were the wise men who said, listen, man, I don't know what theory you got in your head. I don't know what enlightenment you think you can get. There's no additional enlightenment outside of let there be light. You cannot get any greater enlightenment beyond let there be light. You gonna erase let there be light and put a Big Bang Theory in place? A Big Bang Theory? And then you're gonna call that enlightenment, that darkness enlightenment? And if you don't stand up against the darkness, that's what the Soul Brooklyn spirit is about. Those of us who were standing like the ancestors of old called ourselves low lives.
Hello, Moto.
We like taking terms that they try and label and brand us as negative, and we flip it back in their face to let them know, like, listen, yo, you can't define us. And the dopest thing about the low life spirit that ties into the ancient wise men of old is the creator of heaven and earth said, I thought it not robbery. I thought it not robbery to put on. To be made a little lower than the angels. I, the creator, thought it not robbery to come down and become a low life. And just like Daniel and Moses, come and stand as a wise man, a low-life wise man. Spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. So Philadelphia, brotherly love. Where you think the word Philadelphia came from? Where y'all think the term low life came from? It came from the word Philadelphia. To the angel of the low life movement in Philadelphia, right? I know thy works. Revelation 3, to the low life movement of Philadelphia, right? So Philadelphia, listen, man, we've been prepared for this day. Family, I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm going to show y'all how to take this So Brooklyn spirit, the call, and the So Philadelphia response, and how to be a wise man and a wise woman. The only family group throughout history who has had wise women who have been given visions and dreams to intervene and save they people, our ancestors, our Nubian queens, Esther, that supernatural vision to be able to see. And her uncle Mordecai told her, listen, you was created for this very day and moment. Your steps were ordered to put you as the queen of the people. Out of all of the millions of women that the king during this time could have married, your steps were ordered to put the crown on your head, so that when the attack on your people came, you were put in a place to be able to intercede. These days have been orchestrated and ordered. Yes, the Great Depression, such as the world has never seen. And the only people who are in position to not only profit, but to rescue billions. Billions. This is the last global greatest depression ever. Think I'm lying? We ain't just been coming here sounding a warning since 2008, 2009. No, we've been studying to show ourselves approved. We've been doing the research. He said knowledge will increase. We've been taking the talents that individuals have been investing in us, and we have been preparing to transfer these deposits. We have stood still so that the king could see that we've been faithful with every single resource that he put in our life. And we're about to show you where the only emerging markets are. What an emerging market is where the powers that be, who keep a business cycle of boom and bust on Wall Street. Boom, bust, boom, bust. That's profit, crash, profit, crash. Profit, crash, profit, crash. They profit, they crash the economy, they profit again. Then when it comes back, they profit, they crash it, they profit. They've been on a cycle. We've been victims of the cycle. And our ancestors been on the same cycle. Abraham, go to the land that I will show you. Profit. Then comes a Pharaoh that knows not Joseph. And then Joseph's people know not their own God. Crash. Slavery, 400 years. Send a deliverer. Moses. Prophet. Exit from Egypt. Cross the Red Sea. You're free. I sent the deliverer to bring you. Go tell Pharaoh to let my people go so that they can worship me. Get right here. You're free. I did everything I said I was going to do with Pharaoh. You're at my face. And who do you worship? The golden calf of the New York Stock Exchange. The same golden bull at the New York Stock Exchange is the same Horus, Egyptian god that they worship in God's face. Crash. 40 years in the desert. 40 years. Individuals who I was taking straight to a promised land. Get to my face and disrespect me. Squander and waste my blessing. Defile my Holy Spirit. Crash. Wander for 40 years and not one of them made it into the promised land that he called them to go into. If that ain't a crash, I don't know what is. New generation of children who didn't go through that violation, boom, get to go into the promised land. Joshua take you through the Jordan River, baptism, prophet again, get into the lands. God say, clear out the inhabitants. Tear down their high places. Have no other God before me. I've carved out the land. I've given you cities that you didn't build. I've given you vineyards that you didn't plant. I've given you wealth that you ain't invest in. All you got to do is clear them out. All you got to do is lift me up. All you got to do is honor me. All you got to do is be grateful. Prophet. Get into the land. They don't clear out nothing. Give us a king like all the other nations around him. How you got nations around you and they supposed to be cleared out? Give us a king like all the other nations. Meaning give us gods, the same gods as all the other nations. That's what you're saying. You're scared to say it outright, but he know the desires of your heart. Crash. So the enemies of God know the business cycle better than God's children. And so they've been hitting you with the same exact business cycle, family. Same exact. Ain't changed nothing. Ain't did nothing's different. So I'm here to show you. I'm not taking 3 years either. When the man of God came and told the people, yo, I got the word. We got permission. We paroled. That was a parole. We in bondage. You got parole. The parole board of heaven has said you got the stamp of approval. You parole. But you must do some things. Because you did some things to land you in the prison sentence that you received. So you must do some things to prepare yourself for to represent the one who gave you your freedom. You must do some things because you did some things to get the sentence that you got. And now that you are being paroled, you must change. You must remove. You must cleanse. You must transform. Take some time. Here are the instructions. While I'm over here crushing Pharaoh, while I'm going to go and listen. God was so meticulous. Moses told them, I'm about to hit them with 12 plagues. So if any of you have any doubt that this message has come from the king, this is about wise men. Any of you have any doubt and you think, yo, nah, I ain't about to prepare. I ain't about to change. I'm not about to transform. So just in case any of you weak faith individuals, what I'm about to go do is for y'all weak faith individuals. You've been in bondage so long, now I'm not even going to expect y'all to have no type of faith. You've been in idolatry and bondage for so long, I'm not even going to expect you to have no faith. But what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you how I'm going to crush them. So as you see the crushing coming, and you see plague 6, plague 7, plague 8, plague 9, plague 10, just know, if you ain't prepared, after me telling you what's about to go down, you ain't got a limited amount of time to prepare, homie. You have 400 years of bondage. You ain't getting no 400. Listen, you got 10 plagues that I'm going to hit them with, and then we out of here. And if you ain't prepared, you're getting left behind. If you don't follow the instructions of how to get in this ark, everybody got to be on the same page. Everybody got to have on the same garments, the same robes, same attire, one uniform. This ain't an all-pro, all-star game. One uniform. One logo on this helmet. One mascot representing this team called Holy Ghost. Put it on or get left behind. Because only me and mine is leaving. And if you don't have the uniform on, you're not mine, you're theirs. The only thing that's going to separate you from being theirs or mine is you following the command to prepare yourself. I'm telling you what's on the line right now, what's on the table right now, y'all. Because the king don't never change. He don't never do nothing different. If you don't think that the greatest depression the world has ever seen is about to happen. I'm gonna let the individuals who are orchestrating the boom and the bust financially, I'm gonna let them tell you. I'm gonna let Pharaoh's people tell you that the word of God been telling that our people that is coming for forever. Our people been playing around. Most High told me in 2016, all right, go tell Pharaoh. The principalities always got to get put on notice. See, when he was preparing his disciples to be able to do the work when he left, he had given them the skills to do it, but they was half-stepping with it. They wasn't applying all of the power. They wasn't applying all of the principles. And then when they went out faking and playing around, they went out to the principalities, and the demons themselves said, yo, Paul, I know. Jesus, I know. Who are you? Yo, Paul, I know. Jesus, I know. But yo, you just came out the whorehouse 3 nights ago. I know you too. This is what the demons is telling them. Listen, you not on Paul level. You playing game, and it says the demons jumped on them and whipped. Listen, man. I'm trying to tell y'all, 2016 to 2019 wasn't even for y'all. When I was coming to Facebook every day, putting in 4 hours or 3 hours, it wasn't for y'all. I was letting the principalities know. The Most High allowed the king of principalities to come at my neck. And I'm here. Why? Because me and my peoples, we out of here. Oh, y'all know me. If I ain't have a purpose, I wouldn't be here. If this work was going to get done, if this skill set was possessed by somebody else, I would not be here. This particular skill set, for this particular point in time in history. And now I'm talking to the family, because they done set us up. But the Most High God called me and my army of brothers and sisters to be our brothers and sisters gatekeeper. And our response to that call is so Philadelphia. That response is, I am my brothers and sisters gatekeeper. And it's a certain way you're supposed to respond when strangers are within 9 gates. He's given us permission. He's given us permission to be the ambassadors of who comes in and who comes out and how individuals behave when they are strangers within our gates. That's the job and the role of a gatekeeper. I am my brothers and sisters' gatekeeper. Nothing happens in the promised land to any individuals under the covering, the gatekeeper's covering. But see, if all of the gatekeepers don't get in line, if all of the gatekeepers don't put on the uniform, if all of the gatekeepers don't put the principalities on notice, if some of the gatekeepers is half-stepping, like the apostles was half-stepping, then there is going to be cracks in the armor. And that's how grievous wolves come in amongst the flock and pick off individuals who's supposed to be covered. This is financial. This is tangible, real life resources. It is always is in this principality battle between the Most High. The number one way to harm the kingdom of heaven is to enslave the Most High's children, to sacrifice the Most High's children. So if we know what the game is, and if we know what the play is, then we know what the defense is, right? If he hasn't given me the ability to do anything, he has given me the ability on a pro level to compete on the highest levels, and not just compete, win, dominate. We know how to read defenses. We know how to read offenses. For generations, our children, my little nephews, 7, 8 years old, my sons, my daughters, my wife. He didn't give us these talents. He did not give us these talents of competing in games and then give us parables in his word using the same exact games that we dominate. Come on, y'all. He gives us the ability, and he tells us, you will be fruitful and multiply. You will replenish the earth. You have dominion. Subdue the earth and replenish it. You have dominion. When you look at boxing, the best in the world at boxing, always throughout time. Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Tommy Hearns, present day, Floyd Money Mayweather. Fight the good fight. Fight the good fight. Then Paul said, yo, I ain't out here just throwing punches at the air. I ain't shadow boxing. Come on, man. The man said, I'm not out here just throwing punches at the air. He said, I throw body blows to my own body to make sure that when I'm in the midst of the test, I don't fail. What? He said, I go into the gym every day. I put in 2-a-days. I put in the road work. And when I get in there, I ain't just doing no shadow boxing. I get the biggest, baddest, strongest, hardest hitting. Man, we raised our sons in Trenton, New Jersey. I lie to you not. We raised our sons in Trenton, New Jersey. We raised our daughters in Trenton, New Jersey. Yo, you get some body work. Yo, on my mama's mama. You come through here, you getting some body work. They all know. Every last one of them shorties, and it's 1,000 of them, they all know when they come through here, you about to get touched. Preparation. He said, don't be out here shadow boxing. Don't be out here playing with these principalities. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And if you ain't preparing the kingdom, the shorties who are the kingdom, if you ain't preparing them to withstand the body blows, you ain't doing your job, gatekeeper. If you're not preparing the kingdom, who the attack is on, to withstand whatever punishment might be doled out, because he said endure. The race is not given to the swift but to the strong. Once again, let's go to track and field. Let's go to track and field. The Most High God is communicating to us on a level that we understand, because he has given us exclusive dominion in these areas. So he came back in the language of love that we speak, that nobody can challenge us in, that the whole world has to testify and know, we can't even compete with them here. And then he comes in the word and he speaks to us exclusively in that language, and lets you know, if you want to punch your ticket to the kingdom, prepare like this. In the area that I've given you the ability to dominate in. And when I go to the financial side of the emerging markets, when I go to the financial side of how to profit, when they try and crash, because you are the source, because you are the root of prosperity. The seed of abundant life has been planted in you. Richard Nixon took you off the gold standard. How? 1971, Richard Nixon took you off the gold standard. How? When the King of Kings said, come exchange with me gold tried in the fire. They create an institution called the Federal Reserve that prints banknotes, dollar bills, and charges you interest. And then they tell you you are in debt to the world. What? Who the Son has set free, he is free indeed. In debt to who? Come exchange with me gold tried in the fire. The same creator that they told you evolved from a big bang. See, they told you that you evolved because they know that if you know that you are created, and when he tells you in the periodic table, the same scientific periodic table that you send your babies to school and study. And my little nephew Amarion know a scientific table backwards and forwards. And what he knows that you don't know is that gold is in the periodic table. What the Creator is telling you, you are the medium of exchange. You are the currency. Come exchange with me gold tried in the fire. Exchange your life. I deposited gold in you. You are gold, homie. Pure gold. He said, if you just get in the ring and fight the fight, if you just run the race, if you just take the lead, you're already the currency. How can they take you off a gold standard, yo? Richard Nixon is a principality. A subservient principality to the King of Kings. And the King of Kings gave his children, co-heirs, dominion over every principality. How can they take you off? It's called being fooled. It's called fool's gold. So the emerging market is, we're going to remind our people to not waste the God-given asset, to bring the asset that has been tried. You already been tried in the fire, yo. My people don't no longer have to prove nothing. You don't, listen, man, you already been tried in the fire. Now all you got to do is claim. Stop buying the lies that they tell you, yo. They can't take you off nothing. But listen, for you to get your inheritance, even if it's willed to you, you have to go through a process, y'all. There's a process that you have to go through to claim your inheritance from your father, even though you are the rightful heir to it. If you don't go through the process, if you don't come to the place where you are supposed to claim it, if you don't come with the proper identification, if you don't come with the proper legal representation, if you don't sign on the dotted line, if you don't state, yo, everything that has been left to me, I claim, then you're intestate. What does that mean? Intestate is for the ignorant ones who have no clue that you're royal. So when your parents die, and when your parents don't realize that they're royal, and you haven't been taught and trained that you're royal, and they say your parents haven't left a will that says, I'm transferring my wealth, the Most High God has already left that will. The Most High God has already paid the price. So you have states in the U.S. that say, your ancestor died and didn't leave a trail. And if you don't have sense enough to step up to the plate and say, ho, homie. ho, homie. I'm not intestate. Over here, we know what our inheritance is. I'm here to claim. And that's all we got to do right here, right now, in this period, Earth's history. Not for us, though. We got work to do. Because there's so many people who don't have no clue. We got to claim, and then we got to go to work to remind, and then get a whole horde of individuals to identify, claim, and go out and rescue. And we got to repeat this process faithfully. 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Until what dominion means is there is more of us repeating our dominion layer cycle than our people who ignorantly are victims of the artificial Wall Street business cycle. That's the game. That's the game. The game is to move more of our people off of the sideline who are victimized by this boom and bust cycle to our sideline, repeating what we call the layer cycle. All right? So here is the bankers telling you what we've been preparing for. We already got the system of exchange in place. Everything's in place. It's just time for us to go through the process of going door to door, house to house, letting our people know, listen, we about to transfer the wealth from the captors to the parolees. Every time this thing happens, they did not leave Egypt before they transferred the wealth of Egypt from the Egyptians to those who was leaving. After Moses told them to prepare themselves, he told the women, this is what we focusing on. This is what we focusing on. They can't compete. They can't compete. If we would just put the women in the position where they're supposed to be, the apple of the Creator's eye, we just put the women back in. Listen, because they can't. And they can't. The word of God says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to wage war with the remnant of her seed. So the women and children all over the world, the reason that women and children are done the way that they are done, it's an identifying mark of the devourer and the children who follow the devourer. So the way that we are to identify ourselves is to reverse and replenish the supernatural order, divine order, the supernatural treatment, divine treatment. Husbands, love your wives as I have loved. So Philadelphia. Husbands, love your wives as I have loved. So Philadelphia. What he's telling you is they don't possess the ability to do it because of the spirit of the mascot of the team that they're playing for. the spirit of the mascot of the team that they're playing for hates me. And so the direct symbol of fruitfulness is a woman with the seed in her womb. So the enemies of God have to reveal themselves out of the hatred that they are going to have for a woman with the fruitful womb and the seed bearing the image of the Most High. The game is over. All we got to do is simply follow the command. Husbands, I ain't say start a revolution. I didn't say husbands, get your armories together. Get your bullets up, get your guns up, register in the NRA. He said, husbands, love your wives. You want to break the back of the devourer who hates the woman? Because when you put her in her proper position, oh, I'm going to hear from heaven. Oh, I'm going to get up off the throne and come down. When you are in the proper position, like my son was in, when you serve like my son did, when you put those women and children under attack in the proper place, I told you, vengeance is mine. I will repay. Your problem is, you in the way, homie. You in the way. The enemy taught our people about rebellions. The enemy taught our people to join Black Panther parties, and the enemy trained our people to look to revolutionary movements over and over and over and over. And not one of them, you show me one revolutionary movement that has ever gotten our people free. Show me one time in Earth's history where a revolutionary movement, where our people have taken up arms, they have been able to overthrow. Y'all show me. Because the enemy who profits off of both sides in every revolution. Come on, man. Y'all serious? They profit off of both sides. They fund the guns and the war machines on both sides of every single war. So who wants the world to go to war? Those who are scared for you to wage war in the Lord of Hosts army. I could show you 50 examples of our ancestors, Nubians. Because the Most High God knew that these individuals were going to lie to y'all. Was going to put wolves in sheep's clothing. So all throughout history, he been showing the world. He told Gideon, yo, send all of them other cats away. Send them away. It's 40,000 over here. You're going to go with 400. Just so my people don't get deceived in the final pages of Earth's history, when it's really time to go home, so they will know how I wage war. Send them home. I'm going to put you in an impossible position so you can make a statement to my children that you only win these wars through faith. You only win these wars through faithfulness. You only win these wars through following instructions. It ain't your might, ain't your military prowess. He had the enemy. I could show you like 50 different times where the enemy, when his people got to the battlefield, because his people always want to take credit, the enemy is defeated amongst themselves before they even get to the battlefield. And you got all these black conscious, black militants, black whatever. Listen, they planted in there to get you to believe, yo, we tired of this, yo. We tired of this, man. I'm so sick and tired of being oppressed. I'm so sick and tired. Yo, we gonna get these. Blah, 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 blah. That's exactly what the same cats who putting the guns and the drugs in your community, that's what they want you to do. That's what they pay. That's Judas. Go ahead and listen to them black militants if you want to. And they control the other side, the non-violent Dr. Martin Luther King, the non-violent Jesse Jacksons and all of them. They control them clowns too. They control them clowns too. And what the Most High is saying is, if you allow them to deceive you, because I've given you the blueprint of how to be wise men and wise women in the greatest kingdoms of the earth. Esther was the queen of Medo-Persia. The Medes and the Persians toppled Nebuchadnezzar. Esther ain't lead the people into taking up arms in a rebellion against those who was trying to kill. Esther went, prayed to the Most High, and presented herself to the king who had just toppled Nebuchadnezzar and covered her people. Said, I'm your queen, and there's a threat to my people out here. So a threat to my people is a threat to me. Oh, husband, you gonna let them threaten me? Dr. Martin Luther King said, a threat, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So it matters what's happening in Soweto, South Africa. It matters what's happening in South Sudan. It matters what's happening. It matters what's happening in Haiti. It matters. Injustice anywhere. Says you could bring that right to my door. Because I wasn't my brother's gatekeeper. I sat back and saw you violate my brothers and sisters. And I ain't had nothing to say. I see your multinational corporations making bread. Nike, Adidas, Pumas. At the expense of my people. $3 a day. Heinous working conditions. Slave conditions. Got their babies in the sweat factories with the mamas. And I'm gonna go and stand in line, and I'm gonna support your product, and I'm gonna support your athletes. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the Most High, and the principalities, not the Most High, the principalities, Satan himself. Satan himself is going and cashing in with the Most High and saying, listen, listen, your children are in violation. Your children are not standing in the gap. Your gatekeepers are asleep on the watch. So when I bring this pain to them, don't try and intervene. No, don't try and intervene. They have violated. They were supposed to be the intercessors. Did you not bless them with much? To whom much is given, much is required. Did you not bless them with much? They ain't intervening on nothing. So I don't want you to see you intervening. They got all type of cries going unanswered. So I don't want them to start crying, and I don't want you to answer. They don't deserve intervention because they haven't given intervention. They don't deserve secret place protection because they haven't provided secret place protection. And when I go to take their head off, leave me alone. When I go to kick their back in, sit back and watch the same way they watch while I kick the back end of their brothers and sisters.
Hi, John Dobis from Forbes here. Welcome, Facebook Live viewers. We're at the Money Show, San Francisco.
From Forbes. All right, we just setting the stage. Forbes. This is a European international banker in the Eurozone. International banker. Forbes.
Talking to Peter Schiff from Euro Pacific Capital.
Yes.
Remember you back in the day? We were talking about the Fed. This is when Greenspan was still in office.
Yeah, back then I was talking about the financial crisis that was coming. I was talking about how the Fed's mistakes had inflated a real estate bubble and how when it pops, we would have the worst recession since the Great Depression. I was predicting double-digit unemployment and trillion-dollar deficits. I was predicting the bankruptcy of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and of course...
All right, so understand, we're going to give y'all a timeline. He's saying when Greenspan was in, for those of y'all who don't know, Greenspan is an economist that was in when Reagan, Bush, the father, Bush, and he went out like just before, like Clinton, just before Bush Jr. took office. Greenspan goes out. Dude by the name of Hank Paulson goes in. Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen. These are individuals who run the New York Fed. The New York Fed answers to the Federal Reserve banking system. The Federal Reserve banking system is owned by 13 families in London. It ain't got nothing to do with no U.S. federal. Everything U.S. is owned by the crown in London. Let's just get your monetary system down. That's why they're talking to the Eurozone bankers, because that's who own this fake system. And every time they go and crash your fake system, they put their money in emerging markets. And I'm here to tell y'all about the most squandered and wasted emerging market, untapped emerging market that they don't have access to. Only we, with birthright blessings and first fruit covenant with the Most High, have access to the greatest emerging market, and is sitting laying dormant in all of your streets, in all of your blocks, in every hood, in every project. The greatest emerging market. And they go over to emerging markets where you're not at, where you don't have access to, and they exploit, and they extract, and they enslave, and they take the wealth that has been accumulated over here. Every 10 or so years, they crashed your economy. It was a dot-com bubble in the 90s. It was a financial banking crisis in the 80s, Glass-Steagall. Dot-com bubble, 90s, 2008, 2009, too big to fail. They've been... The Great Depression, 33. World War I, 1917. World War II. The wars are sprinkled in with the crash of the economy. If they're not taking you to war, they're crashing the economy. If they're not crashing the economy, they're taking you to war. The Gulf War, Desert Storm, Vietnam, the War on Terror, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. Same London bankers have invested on both sides of every last war that I just stated. Same banks in London have made a profit. While we over here just going to work, they slaughtering brothers and sisters all around the globe. Making profit off of selling arms and ammunition to both sides while millions of people kill each other off of artificial manufactured beefs that they control. With their same 6 families that own the banks, own your media. Same 6 families. They own the newspapers. They own the Hollywood studios. They own the news networks. 6 families. Same 6 families are the same 6 banks that got the bailout when they crashed your economy too big to fail. Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. These same bankers, and for real, y'all. And when they crash the American economy, when it's not wartime, they move their money to emerging markets through a market called Forex, foreign currency exchange. So foreign currency exchange is the global place where they simply exchange it's a currency exchange. Dollars have a value. Euros have a value. The British pound has a value. Every nation has a currency. And the stronger the economy is, based off of how they're exploiting and extracting wealth in that nation, the value of the currency will rise. So, if they're exploiting gold and diamonds in Cameroon, and the Cameroon dollar, let's say it was valued at 80 cents compared to the US dollar. When they're about to hit the US dollar, they might put their money into the Cameroon dollars, and they know, yo, we over here, we extracting this diamond mine and this gold and this rubber in Cameroon. And so the value of the Cameroon dollar and the US dollar will flip. The US dollar will drop because of too big to fail going over here. And the Cameroon dollar was at 80 cents, and now it'll go to $1.50, and the US dollar will go down to 80 cents. And so if you put $1 million into the Cameroon dollar, as they exploit the diamonds and the whatever, and the value goes up, when you put the million in at 80 cents, now it's up to $1.50. There are transactions that they do every single day. When your economy is plummeting, they go to Forex and they figure out what emerging market they want to put their money in, and just simply converting their dollars when they know the dollar is about to drop, and they know this place where they're extracting wealth from, that dollar is about to soar. Just mere moving they US dollars into the Cameroon dollar, and then it go up to almost that's wealth generated. If they put 10 million into that, and it went from $1 to $2, they just made $10 million in a day. And they extract it out, and then tomorrow listen, they doing this every day in what they call emerging markets. So now listen to this banker tell you what's about to happen to the U.S. in this next financial crisis.
All that stuff happened.
And you were predicting the Cubs would win the World Series too. And you called me in the third quarter of the Super Bowl too, and you told me the Patriots were actually going to win last year.
I did think the Patriots were going to pull that one off. So, but this is more important than the sport, because the reality is the problems that I saw leading up to the 2008 financial crisis are dwarfed by the problems that we have now. The monetary mistakes.
The problems that we had leading up to the 2008 crisis are nothing compared to the problems that we have right now. Just listen. And when I tell you, not only did the housing markets crash, so that means housing market is about to crash again. The housing market crashed in 2008, 2009 because people were evicted, foreclosed, they couldn't pay, boom, 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 boom. Banks took back the joints. The housing market, boom. All of those people who couldn't pay, most of them, I'm going to show you the next clip, homeless, out on the street. Then these cats like this went to the banks. The banks was throwing millions of dollars at these individuals to come and take the properties that was now so undervalued off their books. The banks was giving them 35 million, 50 million. They put up $1 million deposit, and the bank put up 35 million. And they take a whole community worth of housing off the bank's books. Now, from 2008 to 2009, I live in a neighborhood in a community where the houses plummeted 90,000, 110,000. These same cribs, it was 2 people on our block. We moved in 2009.
Can I do something to eat?
Yes, hold on. 2 people. Every crib is filled. They building. Every day they put up a new crib. Now this neighborhood is back up 275, 300 grand. So all of these cats that came in 2009 and bought up swaps of this when they was at 90, now they done made 200 grand per house. And they about to do it again. They made 200 grand per house. That's why even when the crisis is coming, people are like running around here like, yo, the economy must be good. They building. No. These cats know that they gonna make even more money when the bottom fall out of the housing market. And everybody clears out of these houses again, is foreclosed again, ends up homeless again. Then when they come back here and buy the same exact house that they just built up. And then when it goes back up again, they gonna make 200, 300 grand again. It don't mean nothing that they building. It doesn't mean that the economy's strong. It doesn't mean anything. It's a cycle that they keep doing. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So, we've been sent to warn our people. This time, we supposed to be the ones in a financial position that when they pull the rug out from underneath our people, we the ones stepping in city to city. We the ones. This is how you reverse gentrification. When they pull the rug out this time, we the ones going to the bank. Here go 2 million. We want all of Paramore. We want all of Pine Hills. We want all of Washington Shore. We want K-Town. We want Gary, Indiana. All of the empty vacant cribs in Detroit want them. Let me get that. This is the position that the Most High put Joseph in. And Joseph said, what you did to harm me, God worked out for my good. It's the same position he's putting us in right now. But all of the people had to get on the 14-year financial business plan. The vision was given. He told you ahead of time it was about to happen. And everybody was supposed to put away the 20%. Sow what they were supposed to sow. Harvest what they were supposed to harvest. Bring the portion that was supposed to be for the plenty. And the plenty that was supposed to get us through the famine. And everybody executed. It's called a team. That has a spirit. It has a mascot leading them.
That have been made under Bernanke and Yellen are much larger than the mistakes that Greenspan made. So the problems they have created, the bubble that they have inflated, is far bigger. And so what happened in 08, that's nothing compared to what's about to happen. And unfortunately, this thing is probably going to blow up on Donald Trump. And I wish he hadn't claimed ownership. You know, he put his brand on this stock market bubble, on this phony economy, and this thing is going down in a big way.
Understand. There's a reason he put his brand on it. Donald Trump's job was to sell confidence. His job was to sell confidence. Everybody running around here talking about he's a businessman. He's a great businessman. He's a failure. He's a business failure. He is an absolute business failure. His daddy built the Trump name. Every enterprise that he went into, he tried to get in by the New Jersey Generals and get into the CFL Football League. Yeah, New Jersey Generals. The league crashed. He built one enterprise in New York, the original Trump Towers. And that was over budget. And his people didn't get paid. People had to take him to court. They sued, they had to take a third of what, I'm talking about the contractors who did the labor. His business model is to go in and not pay people. And he tried it in Atlantic City with the Trump Taj Mahals, and Atlantic City ate him up. He went further down the boardwalk and put an even bigger monstrosity on the boardwalk in Atlanta. Atlantic City is a ghost town right now because Donald Trump. He was such an abject failure that in the 90s, all he did was sell the Trump name to other businesses. This is how he recovered from bankruptcy. By licensing the name, people were putting the Trump name on burgers, Trump name on other hotels, licensing. Then the TV show comes calling, once again, to license his name. And Hollywood painted the picture that he was a boss. Hollywood painted a picture that he was a successful businessman. The TV show, The Apprentice, programmed the world to think that he was a successful businessman. But when you look at his track record, his daddy had to come into Atlantic City. And bail him out. And the people still didn't. And his daddy gone now. His daddy died. The business mind in the family is gone. His job was to sell the individuals who had got programmed to think he's a businessman. He wrote a book, The Art of the Deal. All of his deals have failed. This is called branding. This is called marketing. So he done sold the people that he's some financial whatever. And you seeing the same track record. This is why the Most High was like, listen. I told my people, if these days that are coming up aren't cut short, he said the worst time such as the world has ever seen. And if the days weren't cut short, even the very elect, y'all know that Walmart in the distribution hubs, in the distribution centers, don't have no more than 2 weeks worth of food in the distribution hubs. Man, the last little hurricane that came through Florida, it didn't even hit Florida, and Walmart and them was out of food in the local stores. Like, I'm like, yo, we didn't even get hit, and there's nothing in the stores. You let a Katrina happen. You let a major, y'all see Puerto Rico? Y'all see Puerto Rico? The whole world is salivating to bring the U.S. to its knees. And God's people are not preparing like Joseph prepared. This is the last warning, y'all. If you want to be a champion, if you want to have dominion, you got to do what the champions of the past did to have dominion and to be able to stand and say, what you intended to harm me, God worked out for my good. But he not only worked it out, I executed the plan that he gave me. That's how we weathered the storm. You played yourself coming up against me. And the word calls these individuals the wise men, the wise women. Daniel, Esther, wise men. Job, wise men. So it's time for the wise men and women to lead the people to be able to say what you did to harm you.
They're going to have to rename the Great Recession because this one is going to be worse. And we're still going to be in it when Trump's up for re-election. But we are going to have a dollar crisis this time. It's not going to...
We're still going to be in it when Trump is up for re-election. We're still going to be in it when Trump is up for re-election. But this time, we're going to have a dollar crisis. Listen to what he says.
To be garden variety financial crisis. See, that was nothing compared to a currency crisis. When the dollar is what's under collapse, when people are running away from treasuries, not just mortgage-backed securities, but when the U.S. Treasury bond market is imploding because of a loss of confidence in our ability to pay our debts, right, which is long overdue, it's a totally different story. And the average American...
Okay. He's saying we got you. That's propaganda. He's saying we got you. We gave you an artificial system and you bought into it. We had Richard Nixon tell you we took you off the gold standard. If Richard Nixon was doing like the police say they do, serve and protect. If he was here to serve and protect the interests of the USA, you would never undermine the most secure foundation for an economy by taking your people off of a goal. Let's just talk about the sense that makes as a leader of a nation to take your nation off of the most secure financial foundation ever in the history of mankind. The only reason you would do that is if you have been trying to undermine the financial freedom the whole time. And they took you off a gold standard. Then they claim when they gave you $1, you owe interest on every dollar that we put into circulation. This is the debt that he's talking about. That is unnatural. That is artificial. But they keep saying it over and over and over again. They keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it. And the other nations of the world who are in on the heist are saying, yes, you owe us. You owe us, China. How you the financial superpower of the world and you in debt to China? You in debt to London? How you got a $22 trillion debt? They saying every time the U.S. buys imported goods and uses the U.S. dollar, and we import goods from China, they're saying because your dollar is owned by London, you had to borrow from London in order to purchase the imports from China. That's where the $1 trillion comes from. If the so-called founders of Land of Liberty, if they created a so-called sovereign nation like the British claim that they are, they got a crown, so they say we sovereign. If your so-called presidents separated themselves in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution from Britain, then they would be sovereign. And your U.S. Treasury, you have a treasury. You have your own treasury. Why do you have to go to the Federal Reserve to borrow the dollars that you purchase goods from? Because it's all a lie. And the people who are really sovereign in the USA are not ruling, have not put our financial system in place, have not exercised the dominion and rulership that your birthright and your first fruits blessings commands. And because you acknowledge Caesar financially in your life, because you acknowledge Caesar as an authority over your life, Caesar is doing what Caesar does. That's why the king himself said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar, and render unto God that which is God. And if you have dominion, and if God has authority over you, that's called sovereignty. That's the opposite of debt slave. When they say you in debt, they saying you a slave. That's debt slavery. And he is saying, we got you, yo. The noose is around your neck. for 22 trillion, and your system ain't in place. You know how you haven't reinstituted your elders? First thing Moses did. First thing Moses was instructed to do when he brought him out of Egypt. Okay, you free, you paroled, reestablish my financial system, my court system. Who was instructing him? The Most High God. Reestablish his everlasting financial and judicial system with his people. This means you have a system. This is the same system that those same people got into the promised land and dismantled. Give us a king like all the other nations, meaning we no longer want to be governed by the system. We no longer acknowledge God as our authority, the judicial system, the financial system, So the same way that ignorant people took themselves from underneath the system, wise people can resurrect and replenish. And God commanded you to replenish his rule. You have dominion. You be fruitful and multiply. Replenish the earth and subdue it. Subdue means rule. And if you're a debt slave, are you ruling?
Is going to suffer much more this time. But also, there's a much bigger potential for the average investor. That's why I'm here at the Money Show, to try to show people how to profit from the events that are about to unfold.
All right. Did you hear that? There's a much bigger potential this time for investors to be able to profit when the U.S. suffers. He said it. There is a much bigger potential for investors. Now he's talking about the multinationals. He's talking about China, Saudi Arabia, London, Germany. He's talking about the European Union, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. He's giving the signal to all of the global players who are in on this heist. There's a much bigger potential for investors this time around to profit. And I tell you clear as day, the Most High said, yo, go tell my people to prepare. Go tell my people to call my people to be archangel investors. Go tell my people to put the system in place. The wise man, wise women system in place. The only proven system to make the whole world prosperous. Anytime our ancestors put these principles that we've studied since 2008, not studied, that we've resurrected from 2008 to present day. David put them in place. The land was a wasteland with Saul. David put the system in place, and the word of God says that David's abundance was so all-encompassing that the wealth that flowed through David's treasury was so ridiculous. That's what prompted David to say, yo, God, I built my wife a castle fit for the queen of her stature. But I can't build my wife a castle and not build you a sanctuary. Can I build you a sanctuary? It was the wealth. Every enemy had been crushed on every side. The opposite of in Saul's reign. They were under attack. They were under threat. They was robbing them, pillaging the land. David comes in, puts this system in place, a 4-point system. 4 points. Simple. Four cornerstone points to this financial system. It's the same system that Job had in place. 4 points. 4. Identical. Same 4 system that Joshua established when they went into the land. 4 points. The people get away from this system. The enemies crush them. The people return to the system, the financial system. Land flow with no behind them. It's that simple. And this is the same way that Floyd Money Mayweather and them prepared. When they going into the championship bout, they turn on film and they watch. Oh, De La Hoya, Oscar De La Hoya. Floyd cut on the film. He go back to the footage. He just watched De La. Oh, before he throw his most powerful punch, he always drop that. That's the sign he about to throw the right hook. He drop it. Every time he gonna throw the right hook, which is his best punch, he drop it. So all I need to do is, when I see him drop it, hit him with the left cross. They don't never sit back knowing exactly what the opponent always does, and then let him get off their best punch. No, that's why he's a champion. We taking the same thing that has made us champion on basketball courts and football fields and in boxing rings and on tracks. And these are the same parables that the king said to us in the word of God. And then we went back and we extracted his financial principles and guidelines. And we applied our dominion from the parables that he gave us in the word, and dominion and our superpower every day when we walk these streets, and we applied it, and boom, it's plain as day. Every move to make, it's plain as day. Trump, England, the Vatican, the Middle East, they're all telegraphing their punches. China, Russia, they're Iran, they're telegraphing their punches. And you just gonna let them knock you out, huh? You just gonna let them knock your children out, huh? You're just gonna believe all of these little cliches that they throw around to you. Patriotism. Prove, show it to me. Show me some patriotism. Y'all show me one individual that has ever been at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that has had our people's best interest in mind. Show me one. One administration. You can't show me none. The proof is in the pain. The proof is in the suffering. You can't show me nobody.
You know, last time time there was a flight to safety, and back in those days, like I'm talking about 2008, 2009, the flight to safety was into the U.S. bond market and into the U.S. dollar. So the dollar did not collapse.
Right.
But we've got, what, about a doubling of the national debt? More than that. We're up to 20 trillion now. I think we had like 8.5 trillion back then.
This time it's going to be a flight to safety, but it's going to be a flight from the dollar, from treasuries, because people are going to realize that there is no safety there. And so the next safe haven is going to be gold, right? And it's going to be certain other foreign currencies where the governments are in much better fiscal shape, where the economies are in much better shape. These are...
Let me translate for y'all. Let me translate for my peoples. Especially my peoples in the direct sales industry. Especially my people who make upper middle class income and $1 million income and double-digit $1 million income. God has blessed us to be able to position ourselves and get on teams with individuals in all of these classes and ranks. We got a business partner who, right in Tampa, $200 million earner. $200 million earner. Holton Bugs out of Tampa, Florida. We got several individuals who make $10 million a year plus annually. And to all of my people, I don't care if you're below the poverty line. I don't care if you're making less than $18,000 a year. This threat that he just said out of his mouth, this was a threat to every person under the sound of my voice. This is a threat. Remember, he said, now I'm here at the money conference because there's an opportunity for investors to profit off of the greatest crash ever. And he said, in 2008, 2009, there was a flight to the dollar. Meaning, they all agreed. All of these investors agreed. This go round, there's money to be made to come up and use the dollar to buy up the real estate. It was a housing bubble. It was a housing bubble. So they like to come up this go round is to take the dollar and buy the real estate that's just going to drop and plummet. That's our agreed upon investment strategy for this crash in 2008, 2009. I'm just translating what he's just said. But this time around, he's saying this crash is going to be in so many different sectors. It's not just housing. This time around, so many different sectors are going to be affected that there's no way in the world we're going to even touch the US dollar. What he's saying is the flight to safety is not going to be to the dollar, it's going to be away from the dollar into, and he told you, into gold, into silver, into other emerging markets and other stable economies, Forex. Then in 2011, when they was rigging this system to explode, they created a separate currency exchange called Bitcoin. So now they have a additional exchange on top of the Forex, on top of the emerging markets, because they don't want to revitalize countries that they have control over. They've done this all over the world, y'all. They got haves and have-nots all over the world. So they don't want to put their money into countries that they already, like they got Venezuela. It's done. Zimbabwe finance, done. All over the world. Done. Puerto Rico, about out of there. So they don't want to move their money into Forex and revitalize these countries that they're going to be able to come in and swoop in and buy up everything. So he's saying we're going away from the dollar into other currencies. Not only do they got Bitcoin, they got Ethereum. Now, listen, yo. What does that mean? You could make $20 million a year. You can have a nest egg. You could be sitting on $80 million. Your family could have passed down a legacy and a heritage. You could have been $1 million earner. And on top of the legacy and heritage that your family passed down, you could be sitting on $80 million. And what he is saying to the investors of the world is, we are doing a flight from the safety in the dollar, and we're going to everything else but the dollar. What does that mean? If you got 80 million, if you got all of your wealth in the US dollar, you might as well live in Haiti. No matter how much you make, no matter how little you make. If all your wealth is in dollars, if your income, if your earnings, if your savings is in dollars, if your CDs, if your mutual funds, if your IRAs, if your 401ks, and if they are calculated in dollars, the day that it crashes and they run from the US dollar, in Zimbabwe, they spending $100 million bills. And the $100 million bill might be like worth 50 cents. So that means even if you had $100 million in your bank, yo, this is what that means, is they're going to make another currency. So say they make the euro the world currency. If you got $100 million, they like, yo, it takes 100 million US dollars now to equal 50 cents in euros. So what about our people who make $30,000 a year? If $100 million equals 50 cents, what does your $30,000 equal? Half a penny? This is the same thing that happened to the 10 tribes of Israel when the Assyrians laid siege to Israel. Once again, this is Floyd Money Mayweather watching exactly how the principalities, exactly how the nations of the world came against God's children in behalf, and God is saying, listen, yo, time to put on the gloves, y'all. Children of Israel put themselves in that position. Children of Israel walked away from the financial covenant with God. Walked away from God's system of having elders, righteous elders, govern the people. And they turned over the governance of their prosperity to Caesar. We're going to let Caesar govern us. We're going to let Caesar police us. Okay. Oh, and we also go on worship Caesar's idols. Look at the churches, y'all. Look at the churches. They all with Donald Trump. They all with, listen, there is no separation between his lawlessness and them heaping blessings and praises and extolling biblical prophecy because he's a friend to Israel. This is the children of God doing the same thing again that the 10 tribes of Israel did. And God like, all right, God sent prophet after prophet to those 10 tribes to warn them. Isaiah, Jeremiah, go holler. Nehemiah, go tell them. Ezra, go holler at him. Finally, he sent Ezekiel. He didn't even send Ezekiel. He took Ezekiel and he showed Ezekiel. Come look what the people doing. He wanted the prophets to know. When I let happen to them, what you see happen to these people, I want you to know, prophet. See, because the prophet wasn't living the life that the people was living. And God did not want the prophet crying, complaining, talking about God was unjust. Yo, God took Ezekiel into the sanctuary. Yo, y'all could play around. Y'all can keep giving these pastors a pass. Y'all can y'all listen, man. I don't care if you went to school with them. I don't care if they're your best friend. Listen. The Most High God and faithfulness to the Most High God is more important than any of these individuals that I went to school with, that my daddy went to school with. Nobody gets a pass. Because my children and my wife are under siege and under threat. And if I don't respond properly to the lawlessness of the people of God, then I have not provided a way of escape for my children. This is how God has always tested his people. Every home has a king and a queen in it, and princes and princesses. And God lets every home identify itself as a sanctuary. Your body is the temple of God. And then the union is a royal sovereign kingdom in it of itself. And the collection of faithful royal sovereign kingdoms that come and stand in the gap for God in the land, exercising dominion, are those who will rule the land. And he called Ezekiel and he said, Ezekiel, you can't respond. You cannot stand in the gap. He said, I'm going to show you what the people are doing. And if I could find one who will stand in the gap, like I just described, if I can find one sovereign kingdom, meaning one home, one house, that was faithful to me. The Most High God said to Ezekiel, if I could find one home, if I could find one to stand in the gap, the same thing I said to Abraham about Sodom and Gomorrah, when Abraham said, if I could find 10. If I could find one this time, Israel was worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. One. God found Lot. God found Lot and 2 daughters. 3 in Sodom and Gomorrah. He couldn't find one. And he took Ezekiel through the whole land. And the book of Ezekiel is a rebuke that Israel, in the sanctuary of the Most High God, was more idolatrous than Babylon, Egypt, Sodom and Gomorrah, Rome. That's why Rome was allowed to rule them. Greece, that's why Greece was allowed to rule them. The book of Ezekiel is nothing but God showing the prophet the destruction and devastation that's coming on these people, they have earned it. Chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter. You know what Ezekiel did? He went to the people. Yo, God has shown me y'all lawlessness. Y'all are violating. Y'all have taken the Sodomite priesthood of Sodom and Gomorrah into the inner chambers of God's holy sanctuary. And y'all have brought the Asherah pole. And y'all have brought the same transgender God, Baphomet, Horus, the Egyptian God, the Antichrist of the Egyptian Trinity. Y'all have brought Horus and his transgender sodomite priesthood activities into the sanctuary. I saw you. God made the wall in the sanctuary transparent, and it said it was 36 priests of Israel in the inner room inside the sanctuary, participating in the rituals, the sodomite rituals of Babylon, Egypt, to the sun gods, worse than they do in Egypt and Babylon. I'm here to tell you, across the board in these denominations, across the board, sparing none, it is Ezekiel's day. The difference is, we are at least one kingdom, one family, standing in the gap. And God's dominion, when his children leave earth, is supposed to be the greatest dominion ever. God's rout of his enemies this time on every level, spiritually, financially, health-wise, beauty, praise, glory, honor, majesty, dominion, power, whatever way, shape, and form. The dominion this time is supposed to be greater than the world has ever seen too. Greater than Daniel did it. Greater than Joseph did it. That's why I'm talking to my family. Because I would not have the perspective that I have without the family group that I came up in. I know y'all the ones to finish the work. On every level. The family group that I'm a part of have been establishing the bar. But what we are also guilty of is not fighting the fight. Not exposing. He said, have nothing to do with the worthless deeds of darkness, but expose them. What our family group is guilty of is coexistence. There is no coexistence, family. That's the New Age movement's playbook, coexistence. Our king's playbook has always been enmity. That's why our people suffer. Yes, we've been blessed. Yes, we've seen prosperity in pockets. But the reason the overwhelming majority of our people suffer, because God don't never move with coexistence. He said, able to divide, a two-edged sword, able to divide and asunder, separate My sideline from the other sideline. Ain't never been no coexistence. And then we give blanket passes because they run around here with the same label, same spiritual label that we came up with. Ain't no. Israel has always been violating from inside out. And if you give them a pass because they claim they from the same spiritual fold you from, you setting yourself up for failure. Faithfulness is not based off of labels and titles that you take. No. By their fruits ye shall know them. And he said, you test the spirit. Test the fruits of the spirit. You test them. That means you get out here on this field, homie. You get out here. Prove it. Prove you your brother's gatekeeper. Prove you loving your wife as God has said. Prove you with me. Test. He said, test the fruit. And he said, test me. That's how you know. This is how you know Cass is in violation. God has said, you test me, meaning you get on the field, come exchange with me gold, tried in fire. We're going to get in here, we're going to spar, homie. Jacob wrestled with God and man and prevailed. You're supposed to test your brothers and you're supposed to test God. Test your brothers and test God. And when you prevail with God and then they fail. But when your brothers prevail, when you can hand your children off to your brothers and they faithfully implement the same exact training and grooming that you would implement. We got institutions. Oakwood University and Pine Forge Academy. We got institutions. When I send my children to any of those institutions, I don't care nothing about your idea and vision for education. We don't need your idea and vision. We got the Most High's vision. I don't care nothing about you wanting to compete educationally. There's no competition educationally. They don't have no education. You got all these new age parents. All these new age theologians. All these so-called worldly wise men. That ain't what you there for, homie. Darling, that ain't what you're there for. You're there to be a custodian, to groom my child, shepherd my flock identically the same way that I would shepherd them if they were still home with me. Any variation from the way Moses shepherded his flock is a violation. Any variation from the way Joshua shepherded, any variation from the way Elijah taught at the school of the prophets, United Negro College Funds is a violation. UNCF, NAACP, Freemasonic, occult, brotherhoods, and they want you to come into the fold of HSBC. Ain't no other fold. We ain't in no folds. You got access to come into our fold. That go for the General Conference. Before the General Conference was. Before a Seventh-day Adventist Inc. was. This movement was revealed in a vision to a man named William Floyd, who revealed how to avoid the deception that all of Europe fell for, as Rome did a counter-reformation, rounding up everybody who was trying to break away. And the Most High got revealed to an African-American Nubian free man named William Floyd. Not a conference office, not a conference official, not a denomination. 3 visions. Sound like exactly what he did to Joseph. Sound like exactly what he did to Jacob. This ain't got nothing to do with no corporate bodies, not got nothing to do with no corporate entities. And then a woman took the instruction from those videos and put her bread. I'm talking about emerging markets. I'm talking about how to invest and capitalize when they're crashing your economy. We done already did it in the USA. The blueprint has already been set. A lady went and invested. During the time of the Civil War, during the time where they was kicking our people's back in, doing something called slavery by another name, convict leasing. 1865, the state started, oh, you want to free these slaves? Okay, we're going to hit them with a charge of crime, and we're going to lock them up. We're going to implement Jim Crow. We're going to implement the color codes, for the people of color trying to get free. We're going to label them a criminal, as a vagrant. We're going to label them as loitering. We're going to label them as anything we can do. We're going to throw them into jail. And then we're going to lease them out to the state for pennies on the dollar. You're still a slave. And so to be able to access these individuals who you are trying to say, because of segregation, we're going to keep this gospel from penetrating these people and reminding them of their covenant with God. On land, we going to kick their back in. And this lady invested, I'm talking about an emerging market. I'm talking about a school of the prophets. Talking about a school of the prophets. When a corporate denomination in Battle Creek, Michigan, didn't want to have no parts of taking the gospel to these people. In 1888, this same corporate denomination said, just like all the other Christian denominations, if the country is segregated, we're going to spiritually be segregated. We're going to have a Southern Baptist convention, and we're going to have a European Baptist headquarters. We're going to have a Methodist headquarters, and we're going to have the African Methodist Episcopal AME Zion. If the country's segregated, if the country is bigots, we're going to be bigots. And we're going to put the wealth and the power in the hands of the Europeans, slave masters, and the people of color. They're going to be in the outhouse of religion too. Battle Creek, Michigan wasn't no different. SDA Inc. wasn't no different. But it was a family. I told you, each and every king, each and every household has to make a choice to stand in the gap. Are we going to be the kingdom? Are we going to apply the blueprint? And it was a family who took their bread and invested in a stock market, in a gold rush. Same gold rush I'm teaching y'all to invest in right now. A gold rush is taking a sovereign identity and created the prosperity of the United States of America because individuals returned back to their covenant. Our ancestors was reintroduced back into their covenant. something that they couldn't get in Europe, something that they couldn't get nowhere else in the world, invested in a boat, sailed up and down the Mississippi River, said the bigotry y'all got going on the shore, on the bank, on the shore, can't do nothing with this bank deposit that I'm making on the water. The cleansing is in the water. The meeting with the woman at the well that transformed the neighborhood is in the water. Restoration is in the water. Replenishment is in the water. Resurrection is in the water. On the Mississippi River. On the Mississippi River. Up and down the Mississippi River. Get in the water, y'all. Come get in the Ark of the Covenant, y'all. God's is the same yesterday, today, and forever, y'all. Same ark. Anybody who gets in this ark is in the covenant. Get in the water, y'all. Same thing Noah did, y'all. We doing right here up and down the Mississippi River. Let's go. And when the people got in the water, when they got transformed in the water, when they took the dip in the water, their eyes was open to their covenant relationship, identical to the way that Joshua had with the King of Kings. All while all of those other so-called Christian denominations were teaching that the Old Testament was done away with. All of those European Christian denominations, Protestant denominations, preach from Matthew, from New Testament. Those Puritans and those Anglicans and those people, they preach from the New Testament. What are they saying? They saying the same thing that the Israelites said. We don't have no part in you, David. David is in 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. I believe that's Old Testament. What they're saying is, we got the same covenant that the Roman Catholics have. The Roman Catholics told them. It's a whole new covenant just based off of Easter Sunday. A pagan idolatrous worship of Ishtar is what Roman Catholicism inserted into Christianity. And the Protestant Christian churches that came to the United States of America ignorantly embraced the Roman Catholic version based off of Easter Sunday, pagan sun worship, simply because the Creator said, a new covenant I give you. He was talking about to Israel. Not to the world. Israel's not the world. Israel's not the faithful. Elijah couldn't find one Israelite to stand in the gap and turn from idolatry and choose God. So he said, so you won't be back in that position with me again. So I won't waste my time. I'm going to give you a new covenant with me. It has nothing to do with the other sons of Noah that weren't unfaithful like you are. But Rome taught the world that when God speaks to Israel, God's speaking to the world. And y'all still think that to this day. So when God said, a new covenant I give you, I will write my commandments on the flesh of that. If that was true, then everybody would be commandment keepers. If that were true, Roman Catholicism and all Protestantism would exude the brotherly love, the so Philadelphia brotherly love that we embody and personify. And they never have. Commandment keeping. They said, what are the greatest two commandments? Love your brothers as yourself. Commandment keeping. He simplified it for them. I'm talking to Rome. I know what y'all about to do to my people. He said, I'll make it easy for you. Love your God. No idolatry. And love your brother. I'm going to simplify it for you. You can't even do that. First thing they did was give y'all Easter Sunday. Wipe away the Old Testament. So they wiped away the covenant with God. They knew that you wasn't going to have a financial situation. But what I don't understand is how individuals who claiming they ain't Catholic, who claiming they Christian, don't see that Roman Catholics gave y'all the lie that took away your financial covenant with God. Easter Sunday? You spend 2 seconds on the internet and you see Ishtar has always been worshipped on the same date, the same highest date of the sun, in springtime, always, always, always. Babylon. They're going to tell you God nailed commandments to the cross. He nailed it to the cross and he rose on Easter Sunday and gave us a new covenant. So we from Matthew to Revelation with it. So the financials of the emerging markets, you can never take advantage of it. Because the blueprint for what we talking about of an everlasting covenant, where God say heaven and earth will pass away. But when you abandon the Old Testament because somebody lied to you, because they lied to you and told you that Israel represents God's people, of course they did, because Israel declared their allegiance to Caesar over God. Of course they want the world to believe and follow Israel's example of giving their allegiance to Caesar. We serve no God but Caesar. That is the only reason why people still think Israel is God's chosen people. That is the only reason. The only reason is because you have been deceived, you have been lied to, you have been duped. The only allegiance that God has to anybody is the faithful servants. If you are not a faithful servant, there is no blessing, no covenant with you. But because Jacob's literal name is Israel, every promise that God has made in the Word of God to Israel is applied to Jacob because he was the faithful servant named Israel. And when it talks about 144,000 tribes of Israel, God is talking about a symbolic number of individuals who have the blood of Jacob and have the lifestyle of the supplanter Jacob and the thief on the cross. There's an unfaithful Jacob and there's a faithful Jacob. There's a thief Jacob that stole a birthright from his brother Esau, and there is a faithful servant Jacob that wrestled with God and prevailed. There is two Jacobs. And God has a path for individuals who are the first Jacob, thief on the cross, that is the 144,000. And for the faithful Jacob who wrestled with God and prevailed, the righteous, that is the number that John saw that no man can number standing on the seashore. And that number outnumbers the thieves on the cross way to get into the kingdom. But they have taught y'all that the only way to get into the kingdom is by you fitting into 144,000. That is the most adolescent, infantile, ridiculous. But it's no wonder that they are infantile. They do not embrace the Old Testament. All of the fundamentals that taught the individuals how to return to God are in the Old Testament. The majority of the Christian world, for the majority of the span of the earth after Christ died, has embraced the fake, false prophet notion of a new covenant, commandment keeping, and everything wiped away. Once saved, always saved. Cheap grace that you ain't seen nowhere in the word. And if God said, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever, I am God, I change not. And if you can't understand in 2020 that that would be new, that is deception by individuals who have an ulterior motive in deceiving God's children. If y'all don't see that Rome has always had an ulterior motive to be able to stay in rulership by deceiving God's children and giving you a counterfeit worship system, if y'all can't see, I don't know what else to do.
Predator nations, countries that export rather than import, that save rather than borrow. So you're going to see a redefinition of what is a safe haven and what is a risk asset. Because the dollar is going to go from being a safe asset to being a risk asset. In fact, from being the riskiest asset. And people are going to be getting rid of them as quick as they can.
We're going to talk in a minute about what to do.
The dollar is going to be the riskiest asset. And people are going to be getting... He's talking about those who have always been attacking to make you a permanent caste society over here, and then God's children to be branded like they're branded in India as untouchable. It is the same system that they already put in place. This is the system you live under. The Indian untouchable class. They wrote you 5th, 3rd, and you're 3/5 of a human being in the Constitution. You are the untouchable. When you go into court, there are different laws. There are different treatments based off of the Magna Carta of the Constitution of Britain that was incorporated into the U.S. Constitution. So they could play a game and they talk to each other as if they are nobles. And when they talk about all men, they're talking about the nobles, the elite class. Just like in India, you have the Brahma. You have the elite class. They are men. Untouchables, you're not men. Negroes, niggas, y'all ain't men. Your children ain't men. The crazy thing about the untouchables in India is they can't even walk through their neighborhoods. They can't even use the same drinking wells. But every day, 2 untouchable women are raped. Hold up. If I walk through your neighborhood, I will spiritually defile it. But you can. This is Roman Catholicism, y'all. This Roman Catholicism. A fake outward spiritual filled with legions of satanic demons who keep showing you by their fruit who they are. They label millions of people in a nation untouchable. But every day, two women are raped by men of the so-called upper caste. I can't drink at the well. I'll contaminate, but you can have sex with me. This is their spiritual hierarchy. This is their religion. A new brand of Roman Catholicism. The priest was doing the same thing. The priest still doing the same thing. All these altar boys being sexually assaulted and all that. This is Caesar. This is, and the same thing go on in y'all churches. These y'all African American churches are a mockery. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to God. And every day they move the goalposts further in what they label as love under God. And y'all don't even understand that what they're doing, they have switched God's gospel with the Aleister Crowley occult gospel of the Book of Thelema. Do what thou wilt. Love under the law. And the God of the Book of Thelema, is Satan. And all throughout the book, Aleister Crowley says, God said, do what thou wilt. God is love. Love under the law. And they are coming and they're quoting the same thing. And then they are, if y'all don't know, Aleister Crowley was the most diabolical in this present era Satanist. He taught the highest offering is to take a young prepubescent adolescent boy and tap into the black magical power of sodomizing a prepubescent adolescent boy. That was the definition of how, in the Book of Thelema, to attain long life. That's nothing but Jupiter, the worship of Jupiter. That's not new, y'all. Aleister Crowley didn't come up with nothing new. The same priesthood in Rome to Jupiter. That is their priesthood to the T. He ain't come up with nothing new. That's not new. What's new is, instead of out and out saying, yo, we worship Jupiter, they worded it, the Book of Thelema, so that it could be incorporated with the everlasting gospel. They preach from the Book of Thelema in your pulpits every week. They preach the doctrines and practice the doctrines. So when people come out and be like, yo, man, listen. We are here standing in solidarity. This is a civil rights movement. God is love. God embraces all type of love. They're not telling you what God they talking about. And they've guilted the world into standing for God's principle, God's character, because they just throw out, yo, God is love, yo. This is a battle to define Philadelphia. Philadelphia means brotherly love. The brotherly love that Cain could not extend to Abel. Meaning they cannot define what love is. They've never been able to define what love is. But we letting them come and define what love is. Define what marriage is. Define what the lawless are defining God. So I showed you that they're gearing up to profit financially off of the greatest depression ever. When I come back, I'm going to show you exactly how bad it is with the inequality gap, and how thorough their plan has been put in place. But then I'm going to show you the markets where they putting their money at. And I'm going to show you what the people who have acquired wealth, I'm going to show you the slums and the life that they've created for the least of these. And this is why I'm coming to my people. Because you are supposed to trade places. See, I've been with a group of people who have used their wealth, their influence. I got a brother, Andre McDonald, who has gone all over the world providing footwear, blankets, pillows, everything. In New York, in the wintertime, people out here barefoot. I'm talking about 40,000 pairs of shoes over the past 5, 6, 7 years. I got individuals, a brother by the name of Thomas Felder, and like 20 or 30 brothers and sisters, business partners of his. One couple was from Nigeria. And when they was able to tap into wealth here in America, transform their lives financially, and went back to their country, Nigeria, opened up a model of the business that they had started here, there in their home country, and then started water projects all over Nigeria. This is what God is calling us to do. Take the resources that He has allowed us to weather the storm and tap into resources, and then we just squander. All over the world, this same system has been implemented, and no other place in the world has been able to recover and bounce back and tap into prosperity and create businesses and create wealth, and nowhere else in the world. Only in the U.S. And we got a nerve to get access and don't do nothing with it. That's why this is going to go down. And everybody who is not in the active business of feeding the 5,000, taking your 5 loaves and your 2 fish and flipping it, anybody caught not doing the business model, all bets is off financially. I'm telling you. You're going to learn what Haiti feels like. You're going to learn what Puerto Rico feels like. You're going to learn what Venezuela feels like. You're going to learn what Zimbabwe feels like. You're going to learn what North Korea feels like. You're going to experience communist Chairman Mao, China. You're going to experience Stalin, Russia. Lenin, Russia. You're going to experience Adolf Hitler, Germany. You're going to experience it. times 20. Or you're going to experience Joseph. 7 years of plenty, 7 years of feeding the world. That's it. That's all that's on the table. That's it. And we trying to call the group who partnered with Joseph. It was a group of households. It was hundreds of households. And we started with the children. We call them the 1600. So in 2020, we're taking 1,600 young people, adults, from the ages of 21 up to 34, the millennials who are the generation that they want to, this financial attack is against them. This is the last generation that they need to wipe out. See, because individuals in my generation, Generation X, most of our people came up before internet and all that. So unless individuals stayed in school and went back to school and learned a skill in technology, you don't pose no threat. All you know is the teachings of the baby boomers ahead of y'all, your parents, who know nothing about this digital age and now how they have leveraged technology to explode their wealth. And we got individuals trying to advise young people with a dinosaur, outdated, non-competitive outlook on finances, on everything, on education, on everything. Dinosaur age. But then you got this millennial generation who's all their life they come up with this technology. And if they assassinate and they wipe out and annihilate the financial future of this millennial generation, and then they harness technology and the wealth that they've generated, and the millennials and the Generation X and the baby boomers, yo, it's no bouncing back, yo. Our people don't know nothing about Forex. Our people don't know nothing about this Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of that. And God moved us from Chicago. God made me and my wife go back to school and then put me in the most technologically advanced, savvy, digital university in the world. My father seen the spot on the back of a brochure going to Disney World with my niece. Called me like, yo, it's a school down here. Yo, you need to bring your talents and your abilities down here. You need to go take a tour here. I just took a tour here. God has always put on my heart that I should be doing something with film and telling a story in film. But I'm seeing you and your abilities and your skills. You need to come down here and take the same tour that I took. That wasn't nothing but the Most High God. In 2005, ordering steps. I took the same tour, and clear as day, my little son was with me. Clear as day, Most High, like, yo, this is the spot where you need to be to finish the work that I'm calling you to do. It's going to cost $30,000 a year to do it. I know you ain't got it. But when I tell you to go to a place that I prepared for you, I ain't even questioning blink. Cause my wife ain't even hiccup when I told her. Like, yo, we need to move from Chicago. We gonna relocate down here. I'm gonna go back to school. All right. No opposition, no. The Most High God was orchestrating. And if he had not put me, listen, I didn't even have an email at that time. I take that back. My father-in-law had created an email for my wife and I. My father-in-law had created an email for us. We still have that same email to this day. That's how far as the East is from the West, and I was concerned about some technology. Wasn't even on my radar. But I was making albums in a group called Alien Nation. We was putting this last day message out in hip-hop form for the young people that I was hooping with and all of that. Always knew that we was called to sound a warning. But I had no idea how they was going to try and use technology to create a gap and a gulf between the haves and the have-nots and make our people have no access to the way that they're generating and amassing massive amounts of wealth and are preparing to lock in a financial caste system in this United States of America. And so while I saw how I could use technology to further how I was spreading that message in music, that's why I was all in. I had no clue he was going to put me in a position. Like 3 months in, we had a business and a company and had networked and harnessed graphic designers, web designers, animators. We had no, listen, 3 months in, we had a professional networking site identical to what Facebook is now. Then, before there was even a Facebook. And that's when he showed me. That's when he showed me in 2006, 2007, what he really wanted to do with his gospel and technology and how he wanted his people to be able to compete on every level. There's no market that we're not supposed to be in. There's no market that they're supposed to monopolize. Not banking, not technology, not building, not real estate. There is no market that that they have created artificially that we're not supposed to take over and commandeer and dominate. Reroute the wealth and retell the story and the narrative. Every single market. And we're here to do that right now. And I'm here to show y'all how you can line up whatever talents that you have with all of these emerging markets that I'm about to show y'all. They talk about U.S. is $22 trillion in debt. Well, I'm going to show y'all the wealth that you're supposed to be having based off of what Dr. Martin Luther King calculated in 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King calculated. Then, $68 billion was passing just through our hands annually. And the calculation that with technology now, the number is up to 24 trillion. No. 12 trillion times 4. 48 trillion. So let's say 36 trillion annually. They getting 12 trillion, that's they cut. $12 trillion annually off of this emerging market that I'm about to show y'all next. $36 trillion is the potential that only we can tap into. That's being wasted. Because we're following in the stream of the 12 trillion, and they have made sure that you are the untouchables in the stream of $12 trillion annually. So poverty, degradation. When the Most High God like, yo, that ain't even your pie. That ain't even your pie that you're supposed to be competing for. They getting $12 trillion of the bottom feeders portion. There's $36 trillion off of your own likeness, off of your own stories, off of your own industries around beauty, fashion, recreation. Inspiration, empowerment. Media, technology, music, arts. $36 trillion being squandered and wasted annually. So y'all come back and check it out.